I have a question. Why would someone choose to go without food for a whole day or even longer? I mean, fasting is not something God commands us to do, and it's certainly not a salvation issue. So, why would I, as a Christian woman, build fasting into my routine? For me, fasting has become a practice for building resilience physically, mentally, and spiritually. So, let's talk about that. So, yes, it's not a command, but it is a spiritual and physical practice worth considering. It's not required by God, but it is a means of seeking Him earnestly for guidance and for healing, or to just draw near to Him in prayer. Think about Esther. Have you read that? If you haven't, look up in the Old Testament the book of Esther and how Esther, in a time of trouble coming on her and her people, went to God, fasting and praying for direction. And then we also have Daniel and his friends, I think more than once, using fasting along with prayer. And then we have the example of Jesus in the wilderness. Before he started his ministry, he went off to fast and to pray, and then to deal with some temptation. So we're going to look at Matthew 6 here for a second. And Jesus says, he does not say if you fast. So there's an assumption there, I think, on Jesus' part. He says, whenever you fast, do not put on a gloomy face as the hypocrites do, for they neglect their appearance so that they will be noticed by men when they are fasting. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face so that your fasting will not be noticed by men, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Obviously, we're not fasting for a reward, and it's not about a performance to be seen by others, as Jesus was just telling us. But fasting can be part of our health stewardship, how we take care of our physical health, how we take care of our mental and our emotional health, and how we take care of our spiritual health, how we draw near to God and just truly focus on seeking Him with our whole heart. It's a way to nourish spirit, mind, and body. I have been practicing fasting for, a few months now. Actually, back in January, I tried it for the first time. You may have heard of Dr. Mindy Pelz, and I will be mentioning a book by her momentarily, that she had, I believe, it was in January, it was the beginning of the year. She had a 72-hour fast, basically a 3-day fast challenge. And boy, I just jumped right in. I don't really recommend that. I don't recommend starting with a long fast like that. But that's what I did. I jumped right in, and since then, I just have done some intermittent fasting, and over the last, maybe 2 or 3 months, I've been practicing a 36-hour fast once a week. Not every single week. As a matter of fact, I didn't do it this week because we just had a holiday weekend, and so it just didn't quite work out. So that's another thing. We don't want to be, as we build fasting into our routine for whatever purpose we may have, you don't want to be legalistic about it. We need to be flexible, listen to our body, and whatever else is going on in life. There are times when maybe I would normally fast and I wouldn't. Like I didn't fast this week because of the holiday weekend and other things that were going on. Now, I want to tell you that 72-hour fast was really hard. And then when I first started doing the 36-hour fast, it was tough. And I was relying on what Dr. Mindy calls fasted snacks. And that's kind of, it's a crutch basically, but it helps you build that muscle to be able to go longer without food. And so a fasted snack is basically, types of food that you can have a small amount, and not fully break the fast. Technically it is breaking the fast, but it allows you to keep going and continue on with some of the physical benefits of being in ketosis and autophagy, which is autophagy is something after you fasted for so many hours, your body kicks in healing and cleanup mode, which is super, super important. One of the main physical benefits of fasting. So fasted snacks, and I generally now have reached a point where I don't need that crutch anymore. But I'm glad to have learned about it. So let me go ahead and tell you now about. Gotta pull it up here on my phone. The book by Dr. Mindy that I've been learning so much from. And one reason why this was huge for me to discover this particular person talking about fasting as women, because the way our bodies are designed, fasting is a challenge for women. And a lot of people, or some people, will say women should not fast. And that just felt not fair to me, knowing the spiritual and the mental and the physical benefits of fasting, to say, oh, but you gals can't do that. And actually we can. And that's what we learn in this book, Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz. Really, really, and you can see I'm listening to it on Audible. I need to get a print copy. But it is, it's just been so helpful for me to learn kind of how to go about fasting, more mindful of the way my body is designed as a woman, and understanding how our bodies respond differently to stress than men do. And we have to be mindful of where we are in our cycles and things like that. Even I'm really beyond having a cycle, but I still, there's still things to be aware of with fasting as a woman. So that's a fantastic book. Highly recommend that. Fast Like a Girl by Dr. Mindy Pelz, P-E-L-Z. So anyway, so I do that 36-hour fast usually, most weeks. From beginning Sunday evening after dinner about 8 p.m., fasting all the way until Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. And then Tuesday, obviously we're breaking the fast at around 8 a.m. and then eating normally the rest of the day. So you get your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, full normal day of eating there. And then I am generally, depending on how the week is going and how I'm feeling, physically and all of that, doing intermittent fasting for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then I am not fasting on the weekends, because the weekends are the weekends. Every weekend is different, and who knows what, is going to be going on. So I decided I'm just not going to fast on the weekends. And we don't need to be fasting all the time. So I'm not fasting on Tuesdays. And then, I do some intermittent with small eating windows on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then no fasting on the weekends. And I have a specific purpose for that. It's not something I'm doing to lose weight. I really don't like focusing on losing weight. I did have my weight creeping up a little bit, and I have, since I started the weekly 36-hour fast, I have lost a few pounds. It's a side benefit. But the main purpose for me is there's the spiritual of just having that time with God, with being fully focused on prayer and things like that, during meal times and whatnot, and then there's the physical of the healing and things that need to be happening in my body. Fasting is a great tool for that. All right, let me look back at my notes here. Kind of lost my place. So some of the benefits that I've seen, I am building my own resilience to discomfort. Basically learning that I can feel hungry and still be okay. So this is a good thing. And obviously there's a spiritual growth. That's an ongoing thing. And then the support for healing in my body. These are the benefits for me and why I'm doing the fasting. And yours may be different. And the routine that I just laid out that I have gotten into for now may not work for you in your life and your schedule. So it's certainly not here to be descriptive or prescriptive. Yeah, I'm describing what I'm doing, but you would need to work that out for yourself. So technically the word fasting is having only water and no food for at least 24 hours, 24 or longer. And then obviously we consider other things fasting as well. Like I just talked about the intermittent fasting, which is usually 12 to 18 hours of fasting. And then you have, the eating window for the rest of the time. And then there's partial fasts. You may have heard of the Daniel fast, of eating just vegetables for a set amount of time. And, a juice cleanse, a smoothie cleanse, a soup cleanse. I like soup. soup cleanse is kind of like a smoothie cleanse in the winter. So how I think about that. Um, and then of course you can fast from specific things like sugar or caffeine, or not even food. You can fast from social media. So these are just kind of different ways to go about fasting, and the intermittent fasting is a great place to start building that fasting muscle. And so all of these different ways to fast or practice that discipline of denying yourself are serve a spiritual and a physical purpose, just depending on your intention. And it's just like for me, my intention covers both the physical and the spiritual, and yours could too. So fasting is a way of building that self-control, which is a fruit of the Spirit, just like Jesus tells us in Luke 9:23 about denying ourselves and taking up our cross daily. Fasting provides an opportunity to practice, just like you would do physical exercise for physical practice of, build strength. We can do things like fasting to build that fruit of the Spirit strength. So it helps to train us to sit with discomfort and to not be ruled by it. And it builds a mental, emotional, and spiritual capacity for endurance. So if you are interested in beginning to fast, I would say to always pray first. Seek God. Seek God on that. Seek His wisdom, strength, what God's purpose could be, and what direction God wants you to go with that. So I'm bringing this to you as a very useful tool for both our spiritual growth and also for healing and physical resilience and mental resilience. But it is not a tool that I say everybody must do this. And you may want to go about it in different ways. Like I was mentioning, the different types of fasting could involve food or maybe not involve food, depending on your metabolic health at the moment and what's going to work for you. And just like I talked about with the heat and the cold tolerance and the physical exertion, we want to start small. We don't want to jump into something that our body is not ready for. So we start small, maybe with just pushing breakfast a little bit later. Say if you normally eat breakfast at 7 a.m., then set the intention and push breakfast off to 8 a.m. How did that go? Maybe after a little bit, you can push it off to 9 a.m. and gradually increase your ability to go a little bit longer without food. So, and before beginning a fast, whether it would be intermittent fasting or even a partial fast, like a juice cleanse or something like that, you want to prepare your body. If you have still some of the processed foods and things, sugar and caffeine and stuff like that in your diet, it's better to kind of get off of those for a few days before you start the fast and really focus on your nutrition and giving your body some good fuel and building blocks to work with during your fast. Have a plan for breaking your fast. There's a specific way that Dr. Mindy has you break your fast, starting with bone broth or meat stock, and then having a good fat like an avocado coupled with some probiotics like some sauerkraut, and then having some steamed vegetables. I added some ghee with steamed vegetables, and then you can begin kind of adding in a protein and eating some normal whole good nutritious foods. Okay, don't jump right back into having what we would call junk food or ultra processed foods coming out of fast. Just like going into the fast, when you break the fast, you want to break it with good nutrition for your body. So, and always listen to your body and know your limits. Sometimes we maybe make a plan to fast for a certain amount of time, but if your body is giving you clear signals that your maybe blood sugar is getting too low or something like that, feeling dizzy, lightheaded, fatigued. Well, it sounds a lot like when we talked about the heat exhaustion. Anyway, so listen to your body, and it's okay to break a fast earlier than you had planned. Consider one way that you might experiment with fasting. Maybe it would just be something, like social media or something like that, like for Lent, I hear people giving up chocolate and things like that. So maybe you can fast from something like that to begin with, or maybe you can start with the intermittent fasting. Remember, it's not about performance. It's not about perfection. We're not aiming to do something like lose weight or whatever. We're doing it for the purpose of, drawing near to God, whatever your spiritual purpose, or maybe you have something in your life that you need to fast and pray on. And so that's our focus, and for me, it's both. I want to have that time of prayer, but I also want the physical benefits of healing in the body. So have you had experience with fasting? I would love to hear about it. How do you prepare to fast? How do you break a fast? How has it gone for you during a fast? Share that down in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. If you have any questions, let's have a conversation about how fasting fits into our lives and how it helps us build discipline and resilience, while helping us to build a stronger relationship with God, and helps our bodies to heal and to detox and just maintain good physical health as well. So I have a couple things that could be helpful for you, and I will put these down in the description. I have building healthy habits that last. You could work through that to help you build the habit of fasting if you would like to add that. And I also have a free meal planner worksheet. It's set up for to be able to take stock of what you already have and build a shopping list and then put together meals for the week. And perhaps that could help you with planning some intermittent fasting or something like that into your week, kind of laying it all out on paper if that would work for you. So I'll put that down and hopefully it might be helpful for you. So I am going to, if you are still listening at this point, God bless you. I appreciate that. So this has been a tough one to, my office is being worked on this week, and so I couldn't film in there. I tried to film outside, as I have done in the past. Love being outside with like the birds and the sunshine and everything. There's just enough breeze to keep blowing my notes over and things like that, and just wasn't working out. And so here I am in another room in the house, and I'm probably going to blur the background for the things that are in that. Finally figured out how to get the lighting right. So anyway, thank you for being here and listening. I appreciate you, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.